All right, so this is going to be a video on the body balance method. This video is intended for people that are going to teach this method. You can teach it one-on-one, you can teach it in groups, but it lays the foundation for a lot of basic corrective work that you're going to see in most clients. So the goal of this program first is to begin to address common imbalances and pathologies seen in most modern people. So some people are going to have more of one pathology than another, but ultimately these all are very, very similar. Secondly, we want to establish a basic protocol for each issue that will begin to address these issues individually as well as their interactions. This is really key. A lot of the time when people come in and have issues, what they're feeling is actually the interaction of multiple imbalances, not a problem unto itself. And as I often say, the problem is rarely where the pain is. The next goal is to automate the corrective process. So time spent one-on-one with clients will accelerate the effectiveness of this body balance program. What that ultimately means is that we want to teach this well enough that either we're teaching it in groups regularly or people are being assigned it as homework. And then when you work with them one-on-one, you can get into some of the more fine critical minutia steps. But this is like the big rocks, the regular stimulus that people need to start bringing their body back into balance. Next, to build a system that can be taught in groups so the practitioner can experience working with a lot of different bodies at an accelerated rate. In my personal opinion, when it comes to doing the kind of work that we're talking about in the body balance method and the human movement method, to develop a critical eye and to develop your skills, you need to work with lots of bodies. So part of the goal of this program is to establish a framework where you can work with large groups of people so that you get lots of bodies to work with at the same time. This is going to help you accelerate developing your skills. And it's a really good foundational approach this last point to offer, it's a good foundational approach to offer a low cost, accessible, and effective program to build more advanced clientele out of and at the same time serve your community. This is really key. Part of my goal for this program is that people are getting corrective work that they need without having to go through physical therapy or a doctor. This is essentially a complete program that rotates on a regular basis that people can opt in and out of. And it will help manage a lot of postural issues and biomechanical issues so that later on optimization can become possible without those glass ceilings. So the theory is over time, through repetitive use, instability, trauma, injury, and due to basic aging, these are the most common pathologies that you will find in a cross-section of the population. Whether they are symptomatic or asymptomatic is irrelevant because eventually these issues will become roadblocks to progress and effective movement patterns. Therefore, they should be addressed first before moving further with a client. These pathologies develop as a result of tonic muscle systems affecting balance in biomechanics, causing shearing and compression in the system. Our goal will be to release and stretch the tonic systems and activate and establish control over the phasic systems. What that ultimately means is that you're going to see these issues in most people. You just will. And since you're going to see these issues in most people, you need to have a really strong roadmap as to how to deal with them and how to deal with their interactions. And that is what we're trying to do here. Now, when we look, most people blame something or want to know what they shouldn't do to avoid this. The reality is you can't avoid this. It's part of gravity. It's part of human nature. It's part of the phylogenetic development system. If people have collagen disorders, which result in instability, what most people call hypermobility, you're going to see tonic muscles tighten up in order to try to generate stability. If a person's under heavy stress or emotional trauma, you're going to see tonic systems tighten up. If an area has been injured, you're going to see tonic systems tighten up. If a person's aging and they haven't been very active and they try to become active and all of a sudden they're full of aches and pains, that's because those tonic systems have tightened up and they need to be released and reorganized. So this is an important note. These are not perfect systems. There is no perfect system. They will require you to problem solve and be engaged with your group or your client to see what isn't being affected and then to modify or add what is necessary for each individual. We're automating the most common 80% of what people need, understanding that the other 20% will require assessment and correction on a one-on-one basis. And what that ultimately means is if you're seeing this video and you haven't watched the 5-part course that I put together on my method and how and why it exists the way that it does, when you finish this video, you need to go through that course to understand how you are going to assess and correct from that point forward. It's really important. So the method simplified, what we're doing is regardless of the client, regardless of how the client got to where they are, whether it is from injury, instability, overuse, trauma, or age, the issue presents in similar ways. Tonic systems become overactive. Phasic systems shut down or lose effective leverage on or supply balance. Basically, the phasic systems aren't firing properly, so they can't balance the tonic systems. So they shut down, the tonic systems get heavier, and you get, number 3, poor alignment of joints and global mechanics cause shearing and compression forces in the system. Number 4, inflammation and degeneration occur due to poor mechanics. Body avoids moving through the affected area. Through compensation, new patterns form and the process starts over. Loci of movement diminishes over time. We covered this in the 5-part video series a couple different ways and a couple different times. Our goal is to reverse this process as much as the client and the systems allow, meaning ultimately, the body, for example, if a person has developed arthritis over a decade because of this issue, you're not going to be able to restore them to pre-arthritic conditions. The arthritis will always be there. So the process, what we're going to do is we're going to release the tonic systems that are causing poor alignment. We're going to mobilize the tonic systems in the most effective and integrated movements possible, meaning that we're going to try to mobilize them in natural movement patterns. We're going to activate the underactive systems to establish new patterns. We're going to teach the process to the client to practice on their own so that the stimulus is consistent enough for change, or they can consistently come to a group class where you can facilitate it. And we're going to teach awareness through integration drills once the client has improved 80%, meaning if they came in with a pain score of 7 most of the time, when they're down to a 2, you can start integrating. If they've been at a 9 and they get down to a 2 or a 4, you can start integrating. But ultimately, you have to understand that there needs to be improvement in the inflammation and pain department before you can start to challenge the body into new patterns. Note, all challenges that occur initially are mainly neurological. Our process creates a temporary window to affect tissue and the nervous system. This must be done consistently to establish new patterns. The more this happens, the more likely structural remodeling will occur over time. The goal is not to eliminate the elimination of pain. The goal is to increase the awareness and control over time. The pain will change and diminish. Healing crises can occur when structural change begins due to the structures being realigned. Our goal in one-on-one work will be to help people through these periods with focused exercises and coaching to allow them to move through these periods effectively. So the curriculum goes like this. It can be taught one-on-one. It can also be taught online, and it can be taught in groups, in person or online. And we've got 3 basic curriculums: upper cross syndrome, lower cross syndrome, and twisted hips. These are you just see these everywhere. These issues often interact. What we often see and think is the problem is the point of interaction. This is incorrect, and we have to take a larger, more global view of what's creating those interactions, aka pain points. So, in the upper cross syndrome, these are going to be the tonic systems we're going to try to release. That's Pec minor, upper trapezius, levator scapula, subscapularis, and then supraspinatus and sternocleidomastoid are not directly released, but they are somewhat stretched and activated in this process. That's why they have a star next to them. So the ones with stars are involved, but not directly addressed by the existing curriculums. They're indirectly addressed. So if you notice that they are major issues, then directly address them in one-on-one work. Phasic systems that we're going to activate are going to be serratus anterior, lower and middle traps, rhomboid, external rotators like infraspinatus and supraspinatus, and then neck extensors. But that gets done indirectly. So this is the presentation of upper cross syndrome. You can see how all of these things work together, and how it causes this forward shoulder posture and this rounded shoulder posture. And you can see on the right here the difference. And if you treat it properly, people get taller. So lower cross syndrome, tonic systems that we need to directly affect are going to be tibialis anterior, rectus femoris, TFL, the upper fibers of the glutes, that's the max and the medius, the lumbar extensors, and psoas and iliacus indirectly. And then the phasic systems that we want to turn on are hallexus longus, that's the big toe, flexor, calves, hamstrings, adductors, glutes, and rectus abdominis. You can see here, this is the process of that lower cross syndrome and how it ultimately affects the system. And you can see on the left here how it presents in people and what it looks like and what to look for in a posture of a real person. And you can see on the right here, those little red areas are areas that the person might be experiencing pain due to this pathology. So twisted hips or high hip. Tonic systems in this case are going to be vastus lateralis, TFL. Also the anterior tibialis is involved, but I didn't put it in the list. Gluteus medius, deep hip rotators around the femur head, quadratus lumborum, the psoas and the iliacus. Those are more directly addressed in this system. TVA, and then the areas we need to activate are going to be the TVA, the transverse abdominis, adductors, that's the inner thighs, pelvic floor, obliques, erector spinae, bicep femoris, the vastus medialis, and the gluteus medius. And you can see here all the different ways that this functions, but the key here is to understand that on one side the psoas is pulling up, and on the other side the iliacus is pulling down. And this causes a rotation in the hips. And you can see on the right that this presents itself multiple ways. So I would really get familiar with these things so that way you have a clear idea of when a person has this pathology and what you need to do to correct it. So equipment that you're going to probably need for each person that's in a group or for each client is going to be probably worth about $50. You can pretty much order this stuff pretty cheap online, or you can go to Five Below. But you'll need a big ball, like a softball size ball, a medium ball, like a lacrosse or tennis ball, and a small ball, like a golf ball, but that's optional. The small ball's optional. It's really only for the feet. You'll need a yoga block. You'll need loop bands, foam roller, yoga mat, and light weights or cans of beans. And that last one is only as things advance that you may need those, but initially those are not necessary. And the cans of beans, you got to remember, if you watch the 5 videos, we can thank Jack LaLanne for that. So facilitation, when you are facilitating this, each session or class should run an hour. That's barely enough time to get through everything. So it's going to take time to get everyone used to the process. And the more frequently and consistently you run these curriculum, the more efficiently the classes will go and the quicker they'll go, so you can fit more in. Video examples are designed to help you see how to set up each drill. Over time, you will develop your own style of presentation, but in the beginning, mimicking is probably a good way to go. Follow each step in order. If you don't complete everything, that is okay. Like I said, the more times you go through it, the faster and smoother it'll go. give modifications as needed. So keep an eye out for people that are doing things in either odd ways or dangerous ways. And if a person has a hard time, for example, getting up and down off the ground, maybe give them modified versions for standing, things like that. You'll want a designated timer. I don't recommend using your watch or your phone. I recommend getting yourself a kitchen timer and just having that in your pocket. Coaching will be required during facilitation. Be prepared to help clients understand the process and the feelings they may encounter. So you want to help them understand that they may be feeling stretching or activating or discomfort, and then either create modifications or help talk them through what is safe discomfort and what is unsafe discomfort. Be accepting and understanding of all levels. This is important because this is meant to be a community building activity that helps increase the health and wellness in the community. You want to make sure and understand that all different people from all different walks of life are going to be involved. And, you just want to make sure that everybody feels included. So as far as the protocols are concerned, you need to understand that each technique for the releasing should go 90 seconds. And you can go as low as 60 seconds, but 90 seconds is really ideal. You'll do one set of releases for each body part, and you can modify for clients as needed. For mobilizing, 90 total seconds for each technique is ideal. That could be one set of 90 seconds or 3 sets of 30 seconds, alternating sides. 8 to 15 reps will be ideal if there is a mobilization that requires repetitions. You can go as low as 60 seconds on any static holds, just like in the previous section. And for this, you can do 1 to 3 sets for each exercise and modify for clients as needed. You can determine how many sets you're going to get through based on how quickly the class is going and what you think you'll have time for. To activate, I don't know why it says 15, 8, 15. It should say 8 to 15 reps is ideal. 15 to 60 seconds is ideal for any static holds. 1 to 3 sets for each exercise is going to be basically kind of the range you're looking at. Again, it's going to be based on time, and you'll modify as needed for your clients. So that's just the basic overview. Now what you're going to do is find that there are 3 playlists in the document that you also find this video in. Those playlists have the techniques in the appropriate order. Familiarize yourself with them and utilize these protocols. And that is how you structure the whole program. After teaching this and going through it a few times, probably up to 3 to 4 weeks, you'll start to see people's posture change, and you'll start to get feedback of how they've been feeling. And after that, you're going to start to see a real clear idea of what needs to be addressed outside of these curriculum. And then you can get into that 20% minutia. But you want to have them consistently doing this for up to 12 weeks, either in groups or on their own. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I also appreciate any feedback. And good luck, and contact me if you need more information.